care about Facebook, and we're streaming at the mothership that is WYAB.com. So if you can't pick up the 50,000 watt blowtorch of a signal that is 1039 WYAB, help us build the station, help us grow the channel. Like, share, and subscribe. Let people know. We'd appreciate that. The number, if you want to be part of the program today, is 601-879-0002. Text line is open at 601-879-5060. And the mission today, ladies and gentlemen, we are here to equip the saints. Who are the saints? Y'all are the saints. The sojourner who is among you shall rise higher and higher above you, and you shall come down lower and lower. He shall lend to you, and you shall not lend to him. He shall be the head, and you shall be the tail. All these curses come upon you and pursue you and overtake you until you are destroyed. Some people say, Andy, your biblical worldview, you actually walk it. Yeah, you're darn tootin' I do. And there's only one way to really start the show today. There's only one way. Caps. I know my phone has been blowing up for about the last 40 minutes. Andy, what do you think? What do you think? Birthright citizenship has been upheld. On no other nation on earth can you go to that country, have a child, and that child have birthright citizenship in that country. But you can in the United States. I was a little worried when this court case came up, but after doing research and talking to some attorneys and talking to people, I thought it'd be a 5-4, but it'd be our way. And this just goes to prove, number one, do not count on anybody or anything for your personal rights, your liberties, your God-given rights. If you depend on the government in any way, shape, matter, form, nature, or relationship, you are in trouble. The Supreme Court has just completely obliterated citizenship in the United States of America. Tell me this, ladies and gentlemen. Tell me this. Why would you ever legally immigrate to the United States of America if you just pop out a kid and now you're anchored here? As a military guy who got paid to strategize and think of unconventional warfare, man, you do not need missiles, planes, nukes, biological, chemical. You just need to have a womb. That's all you need. Because the decision that came down today, you're not going to know the difference today. You're not going to see the difference tomorrow. But over the course of time, you are going to see the United States continue to plunder and fall. Oh, all those Somalis that had those big kids here who hate America, they're here now. All those people who came to the United States, there are businesses out there that say you're pregnant 9 months, come to the United States for 2 weeks, have your kid, get dual citizenship, fly back to wherever it's from. In California, the Chinese have 500 over 500 companies that do that, and now it's all legal. Xi Jinping, he's not gonna invade Taiwan. He's not gonna do jack squat for the next 20 years. We're just gonna let the culture continue to fall, continue to crumble. You know, I had a great show talking about Jody Owens, Mississippi, Jackson, Hinds County. What can we hope to do? What can we accomplish? Whew, it's absolutely death-defying to me. I'm completely mesmerized. I'm actually contemplating my life choices of why I fought for this country. I thought we were something better than what we are right now. I bled the Star-Spangled Banner, red, white, and blue. And now I'm sitting here looking at it going, my goodness gracious. And, you know, people can say, be excited. Title IX upheld. Yep, we got the trannies out of girls' sports. It's just common sense. Birthright citizenship, it shouldn't exist. It's just common sense. Oh, no, no, no. You know, the most dangerous weapon in war is not the bomb. It's not the soldier. It's not the weapon. It's the pen. And this pen has just completely shredded our immigration system. And I'm sitting there when this dropped, and I'm just sitting there saying, how is this even possible? How is this even fathomable? And yep, I text home. People are angry. People are upset, especially the older folks. Younger kids don't seem to get it yet, but isn't that how it always is? Youthful indiscretion. I mean, I'm Mr. Positivity. You ask anybody who I hang out with, I'm always positive. And I'm not sure how this gets overturned or gets corrected. If I'm China right now, if I'm Iran right now, I send all my IRGC members who are young, get them impregnated, and send them to the United States to have babies. Enjoy our wealth. Enjoy our custom of living. Be a Democrat socialist. Don't make too much waves. Just you have your beliefs. You have your values. And just play the long game. Some of you laughed at me when I said China has a 100-year plan and a 200-year plan and a 300-year plan. They do. They don't look at it every day. But they have ideas and goals, and they realize that it's not instantly achievable. Unlike the average American, you want a pizza? It's not, how are you going to get a pizza? Are you going to get a Domino's pizza? Are you going to get a pizza from Acme Pizza Company? Pizza Hut? Papa John's? We are all about that instant gratification. But this is inconceivable. And I see the rumors going around talking about how this was all Trump's plan in the beginning to take down the United States. I don't believe any of that. I can't in good conscience believe that this president, I think Biden would have done it. I think President Obama certainly would have done it. Maybe Bush too. He gave us John Roberts, Chief Justice John Roberts. Man almighty. MAGA, how are you feeling about our Supreme Court? Trump went 2 for 1. Kavanaugh and Amy Coney Barrett. I can't even remember the other one off the top of my head. I should, but it's gone. Two decent, two decent Supreme Court justices and one not. And we should have all seen this coming because we were getting so many victories off of the Supreme Court. It's like we're going to give MAGA all these lower level victories. Heck, we'll even give them the trannies. We'll get that taken off. And by the way, something else that happened today with the Supreme Court: no spending caps on political committees now and their affiliates. I'm sure they'll have reporting limits, but there's going to be no cap. So now all these international billionaires who want to make money off the American economy can come in and just dump billions and billions of dollars into the Republican Party and the Democrat Party and the Democrat Socialist Party. And there's no governance there. It's a lot to take in. I can honestly not think of a worse day that I've had when it comes to Supreme Court rulings. There's been some rotten ones, but this is this is the game plan of how to take over the United States of America. It's the only way to do it. Militarily, if it gets too amped up, we'll just all grab our Second Amendment right, grab our guns, and have at it. But this is a slow burn. This has been building for decades, maybe even a century. It's been going for a long time, and you've got to hats off to the globalists, the World Economic Forum, the deep staters. They're going to get what they want. It's not going to be instantaneous, and of course you'll see the celebrations online by the exorbitant youth. You'll see the Democratic Socialists cheer for joy. Zorhan Mandami, he is never going to be president, but his kids will be. All of these people now mass immigrating illegally into the country. Oh, I have a kid here. I have rights. It's all too perfect. It's a beautiful plan. It's breathtakingly, when you're looking at it from a strategy type of position, military type of position, a political type of decision. The plan is beautiful. It's breathtaking. You are using the very weapons that America holds dear to protect the United States. You're using those same weapons to tear it apart. No doubt that this fall, all across classrooms in America, from K to 12, undergrad to graduate degrees, this is going to be one of the major topics discussed. And it's going to start ripping apart everything that Lincoln put in, Madison, Jefferson, Washington. They're just ripping it all apart. They're shredding it. And Andy, you're being over dramatic about this. Come talk to me in 20 years. It's not even good. There is no good that came from this decision today. And when we get back, I'm going to talk to you about something so unconscionable, such an egregious error that you're just not going to believe it. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We'll be right back. It's all kicking off here on the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. You know, I'm doing the show prep a little bit as the show goes on because more analysis is getting done with the birthright citizenship case. But this just came out. NPR just ran a story saying that Justice Samuel Alito is going to retire from the U.S. Supreme Court. They just had to run a retraction story. Editor's note: NPR retracts story. This story has been taken down. It was published in air June 30th, 2026. Absolutely insane. And I'm clicking on the link right here. I'm going to repost this because people won't believe me, but I don't care. Remember, I mean, it's been such a crazy day. It's been such a crazy day that I didn't even give the oil price, which is $71 a barrel. And we've got what, 8 days left of normal life before AI completely starts influencing everything and we completely distrust everything. Man, think about the tactical planning of that. The birthright citizenship case gets pushed out, and then NPR editor's note comes out by the NPR staff. It, there's all sorts of quotes on this too, like credible journalists reporting this. But that's not the most egregious thing. Ladies and gentlemen, you know that the Supreme Court is screwed when they can't even accurately quote the 14th Amendment. Ladies and gentlemen, if you go to the Supreme Court of the United States, Trump, President of the United States versus Barbara et al., it's the second it's the second sentence. And I'm just going to read this to you. And this is going to, and all you attorneys out there, you can either slam me or you can back me up. I don't care, but I know I'm right on this. The question presented to whether the Constitution guarantees citizenship for children born in the United States of parents who are unlawfully and temporarily present or temporarily present in the country. Under Citizenship Clause of the 14th Amendment, all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the states wherein they reside. Ladies and gentlemen, they left out a comma. How the 14th Amendment should read is all persons born or naturalized in the United States, comma, and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States. If you are here legally, it's the jurisdiction thereof clause. The U.S. Supreme Court didn't believe in that. And you know, I can remember this from getting my pre-law degree. I can remember my professor saying commas mean things, periods mean things, punctuation means things. And they've completely misquoted the 14th Amendment in the second sentence of their 200-page opinion. Sorry about that little tickle in my throat. You know, we are sitting here making big boy and big girl decisions, and you can't even quote the 14th Amendment right. And now you have all these congressmen, and good on the House because the House is of the people. The Senate is supposed to be for the state, but we gutted how we elect senator or put senators into power. The states can't recall their senators like they used to. And I've got all sorts of stuff on how bad the Democrats are doing in the Senate and how Leader Thune is completely underwater. But I can't get over I cannot get over this opinion. Maybe if the rationale was different, I'd get it. But when in the second stinking sentence of your opinion, you do not accurately quote the 14th Amendment, I have a problem with that. I'm looking right here at the case, and if you go to my X account at Andrew Gosser, You can see I've posted the opinion, and you know what? I'll even do you one more solid. I'll quote you the 14th Amendment, where it's got the correct way that it should be read and interpreted. Our education system doesn't teach the Constitution like it used to. I can remember Mr. Hettinger in the 7th grade going over things like this, talking about how important it is to understand how uh, the amendments were written, how the Constitution is written, how every single letter and every single period and punctuation was intended and important. And it's egregious. I'm not sure exactly how we go forward on this. Chip Roy, who is leaving Congress, is already talking about putting a bill together to end birthright citizenship. Well, the damage has already been done because this is going to put an instant. I mean, you literally just had 40 million new citizens anchored into the United States. How does ICE go after these people? Can you imagine the lawsuits that the left is going to start ginning up now and gumming up the legal system even more? Mom and dad aren't legally here, but baby is. How can you kick out mom and dad and leave the baby here? It's absolutely brutal. And make no mistake about this. This isn't, you know, we've got enough problems in America to worry about. This is no longer Democrat versus Republican. This is Democrat socialist versus American. All of you business owners out there who have been feeling the pressure of illegal immigration on your labor force, on your bottom line, on your ability to stay in business, this is going to have impacts within a week, within weeks. And I know that there are people out there who are going to have much more rosy pictures to paint, much more of a positive attitude, but it's not going to be good. I want to sit. I've got text coming in here. Some of you leftists are just incredible. Yeah, I see. Gonna push for the pregnant illegals over here. Thomas accuses the majority of repurposing the 14th Amendment to protect its own set of preferred rights that the Reconstruction Congress never contemplated and that cannot find support in its text. Today, the court does so again by recognizing a constitutional right to citizenship for the children of all foreign birth tourists and illegal aliens. I'm not sure that today's opinion will stand the test of time. The citizenship clause added greatly to the dignity and glory of the American citizenship. Today's opinion devalues that citizenship. I respectfully dissent. That's Justice Thomas. You know, in politics, there are people who just fly high the whole time and never take hits. And then there's those politicians who take hits and they build power off of it. And I like to think that that's how I was as a politician. I could have the rat inflatable blown up in front of my office. I could have people surrounding me, screaming at me, signs, caricatures of myself. Never bothered me. This is like something that genuinely bothers me. These are supposed to be our best and brightest on the Supreme Court. And I just feel like America's been done a disservice. I'd like to know what you all think. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. Be right back. Hang in there. We're just in a commercial break. And we are back here at the Andrew Gosser Show on 1039 WYAB 601-879-0002. If you want to be part of the program, all sorts of people texting and chiming in. People are really starting to feel this. And this is coming from the one, the only Kim Wade, radio strongman. The globalists, through Barrett and Roberts, maintain the goal line stand against America and America's interests. Between this and no ending date on mail-in voting, the degenerate left has had life breathing, I think he meant lifeline, breathing into their carcasses by these two decisions. It's true. And when I look at this, they gave so much. We won a lot of the cases in front of the Supreme Court. We did. But on the ones that are going to impact how America functions moving forward, it's completely crippled. It's completely been destroyed. And I do have people confirming that they did misquote the 14th Amendment. It's just not me out there blowing hot air up everybody's behind. It's honestly, it's a travesty of justice. I know we're coming up on the 250th birthday, and they say that the average republic lasts about 225 years. So we're 25 years overdue. I don't see how to get around this. You literally, someone from Canada can come down here, have a baby, and that baby gets birthright citizenship, and now whoop, right back up it goes into Canada to incubate in a socialist incubator. And I maintain my stance. Some people say I shouldn't be giving out ideas, but if I'm the enemy of the United States, I'm sending all my pregnant women into the United States pronto. I'm setting up airline companies that charter flights into the United States. I'm linking up with hospitals, OBGYNs, neonatal units, birthing centers, and I'm just making it all happen. I'm taking the Chinese model and I'm replicating that times a million. And I'm not going to the red states. No, no, no. I'll fly to Washington State. I'll fly to California. I'll fly to Illinois. I'll fly to New York. I'll fly to Virginia. Heck, I might even fly to Florida. It's just so wide open and plain to see. People going back and forth in the chat, and I'm just over it. Save America Act now. I mean, how does it's like where does MAGA go to fight? Do we continue to put pressure on Leader Thune to pass the Save America Act? I think that needs to happen now, but is the Save America Act a little bit watered down now? Is the Save America Act, it's I know it's important, but it might have an impact on this upcoming election and the next election. But within 10, 12 years, those voting patterns are going to start to change. I am just thinking about this. I want to talk about something else. I need to talk about something that isn't necessarily political related and not dealing with Hines County and Jody Owens. Boeing Starliner is such a disaster, we don't even have words. This is coming from Futurism. As if we're not wasting enough money, we gave Boeing $7.9 billion to build a spaceship that almost killed 2 astronauts. That doesn't work. Boeing Starliner originally intended to serve as an alternative to SpaceX's workhorse Dragon spacecraft, has been nothing short of a disaster. This is coming from Futurism. The American corporation has been completely infiltrated with DEI, and it's been no greater place than Boeing. The only reason that we can get the McDonnell Douglas F-15EX is that it was originally a McDonnell Douglas and not a Boeing product. Boeing owns it now because they absorbed it. But the DEI people can't get their claws into the general DNA of the F-15EX and E. It's been just over 2 years since the spacecraft launched the International Space Station with astronauts Butch Wilmore and Sunita Williams on board. The maiden crewed voyage following years of delays and major technical setbacks. Yeah, the rockets got stuck. The positioning jets got stuck, putting it into weird orbits, uncontrollable. You had the clock think about this, the clock that times everything was exactly 12 hours off. It was set to PM instead of AM. Long story short. And they got this huge contract. And this is typical of America today. Boeing is one of the biggest corporations out there. They were in Apollo. They were in the space shuttle program. Now they're on Constellation and Artemis in the Commercial Crew Program. For the record, SpaceX got $2.1 million or $2.1 billion for the Dragon capsule. And everybody hates the immigrant capitalist Elon Musk. Man, maybe that's where you find hope. new emphasis on Starship program. Since then, Boeing has continued to struggle to get its act together. Over just a decade and a half after it struck up its Commercial Crew Program with a contract with NASA, as Spaceflight Now reports, the long-awaited follow-up to the contentious flight test, which won't even have a crew on board. NASA will not even stick a crew on board this Boeing capsule, which is supposed to take up to 4 crew members into space. They say that it had a mishap of $2 million or more. I'm saying there was more than 2 million. You're talking billions of dollars over the order of magnitude. And I'm just sitting here looking at this. Commercial Crew and Cargo awarded in 2014. SpaceX got 1.44 billion. Boeing 4.8 billion. And this is coming from spacenews.com. Those are where I got my numbers from. Blue Sim is saying, the more things change, the more things stay the same. Welcome to the status quo. Such a disappointment today. Yeah, I mean, never bad day, bad moments. And we're definitely muddling through a bad moment. And we'll try to change stuff up here over the next hour. We'll talk about Jackson. We'll talk about the plea deal. We'll talk about those things. I think that's the way to go. But if you're looking for any joy or satisfaction out of the Supreme Court today, does that mean that men can't go into the women's locker rooms now? Does that mean that our daughters are safe in girls' sports, or will this just be challenged in another way? I just am having a hard time dealing with the Supreme Court. I just logically, it doesn't make sense. You know, if France did this, if England did this, if Russia did this, You go to have a baby in China and see if they get Chinese citizenship. Go to well, good luck going to Iran. You'll be beheaded instantly, and don't be homosexual because then you'll be thrown off a building. You won't even be beheaded. You'll just get chucked off a building. But I'm thinking about all the civilized countries around the globe. No one has birthright citizenship except for us. And I stand by Deuteronomy 28, what I read earlier. I know some of you didn't like it, but we are no longer the head. We are serving the head. We are no longer the lender. We are the lendee. We truly do not have control over our own borders anymore. A nameless, faceless bureaucrat in some Washington, D.C. dungeon somewhere is going to write a rule from the law that's going to completely shred apart our border. Man, I'm telling you what, if I'm part of a third world hellhole country from Africa or the Middle East, I'm like, baby, we're getting pregnant, and at 8 months and 3 weeks, we are sneaking into the United States. I don't care where, we're doing it. And that's how we're going to get out of our economic decision. I feel bad for all the immigrants who legally immigrated here, who went through the process, who went through the hard, dedicated process of becoming an American. You appreciate it more. You understand what it means to be an American. Our kids today don't understand, but some of us still do. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Andrew Gosser Show. Arguably the toughest first hour of my radio program that I've ever endured. And there were some dark days. Yeah, it's just crazy. I'm getting texts. I'm getting texts saying that they see a civil war coming. Let's get one thing straight right now. The last generation with the spine to actually go out and do something would be Gen X. And we're all getting old and we just want to be left alone. These Gen Alpha kids can't even read and can't even function without a cellular device in their hands. Gen Z, they're just trying to figure out how to get by. They're not going to do anything. I don't see a civil war coming. I really don't. I see people adapting, modifying their behavior, submitting to the government instead of the government submitting to us. I think we're in a very, very different time in America. Now, if this would have happened in 1980, this would have never happened. But we got rid of the rule that communists, socialists, and Islamists can't run for elected office in America. We got rid of that. Dick Cheney was part of that group that did that. We talked about that in the program last year. We got rid of the Smith-Mundt Act that says that journalism companies, news agencies can go ahead and propagandize the American public via Operation Mockingbird. These are all things that we know are to be true. And we can't even get people to be a precinct delegate. What makes you think we're going to stand up to our federal government? I mean, come on now. To be an election judge, can't do that. Well, not that an election judge really matters anymore. Hell, you just show up or you just move to a blue state where you can use your Planet Fitness ID card or your Gold's Gym. Use Gold's Gym. You want a gold ID card to go ahead and vote in an election. I don't know. I want to be positive about all this, but if I'm being truthful with y'all, unless there's some egregious flaw that has been purposely put into this opinion to bring it back next year, I don't see this changing. And you've got NPR, for crying out loud, announcing the retirement of conservative justices. I hope Justice Alito isn't going to retire. I hope Justice Clarence Thomas doesn't retire. Those are two solids. We don't want that. But it does make you think as soon as this dropped. It's almost like it was too planned. It was too scripted. It was too it was just too perfect. Put a little poison pill out on Twitter, on X, on your website. Justice Alito's retiring. What if he really was going to retire? I mean, what news agency writes a fully factual paper, our news article saying that Justice Alito is retiring if they didn't have some type of information knowing that it was going to be real? You are either a narcissist, psychotic, or you knew something was going on behind the scenes that no one else knew. Look, we're going to take our first top of the hour break. We'll be back in about 7.5 minutes. Hang in there, folks. We're going to make it through. What do y'all think in the chat? You think America is going to be able to rebound from this, or is this just another degree of downward spiral in America? I'm kind of curious. Welcome back to hour number 2 of the Andrew Gosser Show, right here on 1039 WYAB, where we're streaming on Rumble. We're streaming on X. We're streaming on YouTube. No one cares about Facebook. And we're streaming at the mothership that is WYAB.com. So if you can't pick up the 50,000 watt blowtorch of a signal, that is 1039 WYAB. Help us grow the station, grow the channel. Like, share, and subscribe. Share it with a neighbor. Share it with a friend. Share it with a Democrat. Let's grow this thing together. Appreciate that. Number, if you want to be part of the program today, is 601-879-0002. Text line is open. Some of the texts are rather hilarious. 601-879-5060. Brother Rick, who will be joining us next Tuesday, said he wouldn't get on a Boeing skateboard. Yep, that's about the gist of it right there. But the mission here at the Andrew Gosser Show is standard. We are here to equip the saints. Who are the saints? You all are the saints. The sojourner is among us shall rise higher and higher above you, and you shall come down lower and lower. He shall lend to you, and you shall not lend to him. He shall be the head, and you shall be the tail. Yep, we're turning away from God, and we're getting cursed for it. That's my biblical worldview. I'd like to know what you think about it. We're moving and grooving here. So before all this Supreme Court chicanery came out, and I was going to talk about it briefly in the second hour. I was expecting something different. And texter coming in saying the NPR article has been archived and you can read it. I'm not going to read the NPR article. We all know that they had inside gouge on that. I wonder who that poor intern who had published that, what's going to happen to that person. It's just bad. But I wanted to talk about Jody Owens and the good news that he is pled guilty to 3 counts. This morning, Clay Edwards had the legal scholars on talking about it in a great show. It's archived. You can go back and listen to it after the show today, after Lindsey Beckham's on. We got some international or national programming on it. Worth the listen. But I take this from a little bit different view. I take it from a political point of view. And of course, we go to Kingfish and Jackson Jambalaya, who was leading this up. Hinds County District Attorney Jody Owens is pleading guilty to public corruption charges right now in U.S. District Court. We all know that every major mega metropolis, which are primarily run by Democrats, Dallas is a Democrat turned Republican, but we all know that there's corruption in there. A federal grand jury indicted Owens for conspiracy, bribery, 3 counts on U.S. interstate facility and aid racketeering, honest services fraud, and money laundering. Owens appeared at the podium flanked by his attorney as he stood before the U.S. District Judge Daniel P. Jordan III. Attorney Gary Bufkin represented Owens during the hearing, and Owens said he was treated for anxiety and depression since his indictment. Well, this is where I have absolutely zero sympathy for Owens. You should have thought about that anxiety and depression before you started breaking the law. Granted, I never had the multi-billion-dollar million-dollar budget that he had in Hinds County, but I never once felt anxious. I never once was depressed. I didn't break the law. And, these public elections, these positions, they need to be held by men of integrity, righteous men and women. And if your anxiety and depression is going to give you an excuse for breaking the law, I don't think so. Owen said he's never been treated for addiction. Yeah, that addiction thing came up, and I never heard about that. Assistant U.S. Attorney David Fulcher represented the Justice Department. Fulcher said the basic terms of the plea agreement are for Owens to plead guilty to conspiracy to commit bribery, money laundering, and honest services fraud. The prosecutor said the government will not seek forfeiture, but will seek restitution. Conspiracy carries a maximum sentence of 5 years in prison and a maximum of $250,000, a fine of $250,000. So let me get this straight. You siphon off millions and millions of dollars out of the taxpayer. You get to keep it, but you have to. You don't wait. They said that you had to get restitution, but you can keep the money. Make that make sense. I sincerely don't get it. And then Kingfish goes out and puts out his whole lengthy statement where he runs to Jesus, which is good for him. Everybody needs God, and I hope he finds salvation. But that doesn't mean that you get a lighter prison sentence. Then we go to Magnolia Tribune, who talks about the same thing. And my real question is to Hinds County, to Jackson, we're obviously going to have to elect a new DA within, is it 45 days or 90 days from now? We'll have a special election. Or I don't think that they could just hold it off till November. I think there has to be a special election. What are we going to do about it? Are we going to get a real prosecutor in there, or are we just going to get another Southern Poverty Law Center specialist to make us all feel good? Are we going to have people who are going to go there and truly track down and prosecute crime and go after the murderers and killers, the hit and run specialists? And I mean, Mr. Owens' guilty plea shouldn't be a direct reflection upon the people who work in the DA's office, but unfortunately, it is. The DA's, I mean, prosecutors get incredible discretion, incredible latitude. They can choose who to prosecute and who not to prosecute. And we're at a point to where, let's be truthful, trust in the government right now is probably at an all-time low in America. Whether it be the executive branch, the legislative branch, or the judicial branch. No one's happy with anything like that. And, we haven't really talked about it inside the Republican Party, the GOP party, about how we're going to approach this. I would expect that we'll have a meeting sometime soon. But we have a real chance in Jackson and in Hinds County to put in a prosecutor who's going to go in there and clean up the mess, to be politically independent, call balls and strikes, and start rooting out these nefarious actors inside our county and local governments. And I mean, coming into work this morning, there was that hit and run on 220. There was that shooting overnight. We've got so many problems. Man, today's just a dark day. Dark day for Jackson County, or for Jackson, Mississippi, Hinds County, Mississippi, in America. There is no timeline of how long he can serve in prison, but listening to Clay's experts this morning said it could be up to 60 months in jail, 5 years. Do you think that's fair for the government, or for this kind of crime? Does he get to keep his law license? Would anybody ever hire Jody Owens ever again? I don't think so. If anything, I think this raises the animosity between the government and its citizenry. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. And then I went to Mississippi Today. It's not the lead story at all. And then Mississippi Free Press does have as the lead story, but it doesn't amplify any of the information about Jody Owens and his prosecution. I'm interested to see what happens to the former mayor. Is Jody Owens going to, you'd think in the plea agreement that he would have to snitch. He'd have to turn state's witness. And then at that point, the defender, Chuck Lumumba's attorneys, would have to go after the credibility of Jody Owens, which has just been found guilty of fraud and lying. So how is he going to be credible? and it's going to go in front of a jury in Jackson, Mississippi. I'm not sure how that turns out for Jody Owens or Mayor Lumumba, but the poor alderman, he's going to get smoked in the end. He's going to get smoked in the end. We're going to take our first commercial break of the second hour. You are tuned into the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We'll be right back.
Hello, Tower JetBlue 940. Hello, Tower JetBlue 9.
Yeah, welcome back to the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB. Look, I know I talked about him yesterday, but I want to talk about him today because today is the last day for Divini Equipment. And I just wanted to say thank you for sponsoring the show. If you're looking for a tractor, skid steer, cutter, lawnmower, take advantage of that 0% financing. Today's the last day to do that. They've got 2 locations, one in Gluckstadt, one off of Springbridge Road, south of I-20, which is where I go. DivinityEquipment.com, DivinityEquipment.com. It's been great working with you. Great partner. Let them know that WYAB sent you. And let's go ahead and treat them right. I'm looking forward to them coming back to the show. And where one door closes, one journey ends, another one opens up. Eye Gear Optical coming back to the show tomorrow. Be the first day. We'll get Brother Bruce on to talk about what's going on at Eye Gear Optical. It's through our great sponsors that we're able to stay on the air, and we greatly appreciate that. And I want to kind of talk about some different stuff because I'm sure that there's going to be a lot more hot takes on the Supreme Court. I can't even keep up with the private text messages that I'm getting on it, and there's debate on what this means for America. I'm a little bit, I hate to say it, but I'm a little bit more of a doom scroller on that. I think this is something that is it's really hard to combat illegal immigration and building up an army that doesn't take a week or year or even 2 years, but it's going to take 18, 20, 25 years to build. And it'll completely change the complexion of America. Where have we heard that before? But as many of you know, I flew in the Air Force and I've been involved in aviation ever since I was 17. And this is what you do not want to hear on frequency.
48 is just past the salt for runway 13 left.
948 Kennedy Tower, runway 13 left, clear to land.
We are clear to land. 13 left. Just quickly, I couldn't talk to approach, but we collided with a drone back there in the turn as we're coming to assault. Just wanted to pass that to you.
You said you collided?
Yep, it hit us right above the cockpit.
You're coming into approach at JFK, and your 737, your Airbus 320, not sure what type of aircraft it was, smacks into a drone on final or on approach. Drones are a really great thing. You can have a lot of fun with them. You can take great pictures of them. We use it on the farm to kind of check out how the pastures are doing. But if they can have drones in air traffic controlled airspace, what's that say about the safety of flying in America? And we haven't even talked about the F-15 pilot, that poor guy getting shot down by a Kuwaiti F-A-18 on accident and then getting dumped out over Iran and having to scoot and loot for about 7.5 hours, saying that he hit a swarm of drones in a jellyfish formation. That to me is frightening because anybody can go out and get a drone and start flying it. Granted, now they have more controls on it. They know who buys the drone. They know roughly your location. They know the credit card you have. They can link it up, control it with your cell phone, so you get all that data. But there are burner phones out there, and there are burner cards out there. And when this story came across my feed, I was intrigued by it. It's almost like in life, there's a good and a bad to everything. The positive out of drones, you can use them for agriculture. You can use them for search and rescue. You can use them for general aviation, sports and leisure. I mean, some of those shots that are coming from the World Cup with some of these drones, incredible. And you don't really need to know how to sit there and have a sense of pilotage with a drone like you do with an airplane. Within a hot minute, you can sit there and start flying your drone around. The technology in these drones, by the way, are just incredible. It's almost impossible to crash. They have auto-correcting gyros in them now. They sit there and they fly themselves around from point to point with semi-AI autonomy using GPS. Someone Unknown texter just texted the show. Is that a real ATC recording? Yes, it is. I'll share it on X right now. There are more and more this was a JetBlue plane that collided with the drone. And oh my goodness, we just had this just got sent to me by on X. Cindy Hyde Smith has posted, ladies and gentlemen, Mississippi is the nation's top catfish producer, home of a $196 million industry. But through the years of negative fiscal returns have pushed our farmers to the brink. This is going to get bad, ladies and gentlemen. And I like Miss Cindy, but I led a letter to Secretary Rollins urging Section 32 purchase of surplus farm-raised catfish. Respectfully, Miss Hyde Smith, we got a lot bigger problems in the catfish industry right now. I love our catfish industry, and we need that. But we got the Save America Act. We've just had birthright citizenship upheld. And I guess that's the difference in leadership. Man almighty. It's a dark day out there, ladies and gentlemen. It's a dark day out there. Brother Shane says that he thinks America could come back from this ruling. Shane, we'll have dinner Friday. I don't see how that happens. Another texter asked, so what happens with all the cases he was involved with at the DA's office? Speaking to Jody Owens, do they stand or will they have to be retried? I don't think any of the cases that have received final adjudication can be repealed. I mean, they went through the grand jury process. They had a federal or state trial. The jury was sat, or it was a bench trial, and all of that was legal. The decision on who not to prosecute can't be overturned. I'm not sure if he's overlooked certain cases, if the attorney the new DA can go back there and say, this guy was found guilty of X or was accused of doing this. I think once the prosecutor makes the determination not to prosecute, I think you're free to go. But I don't think you can have double jeopardy, especially if you were found innocent. It's it's just a tough situation for all of us in Jackson with our court system. Not to mention the roads, not to mention the stoplights, not to mention the housing situation, the food desert. That was like that was a whole segment I was going to have, and maybe we'll do that in the next segment. In the next segment, we'll talk about the farm that I wanted to open in Jackson, but got shot down. Went to Utica too to try to do it there. Never ended up not working out. But getting back to the culture in Jackson, the food deserts. There was just another. I had the article right here. Another restaurant shut down after 56 years. Piccadilly, at the University of Mississippi Medical Mall, shutting down after 56 years. There were some characters out there. Mr. Stokes was out there talking about how they had great food. It was a cafeteria style restaurant. I'd never went there. I go to UMC Medical Mall. I used to go. They've moved. But my UMC office moved out of the medical mall and is now somewhere else. Better location, in my opinion. But Piccadilly said that the crime rate was part of the reason that they left Jackson. And Jackson continues to lose not just restaurants and businesses, but places where people can go to eat. And there was a pastor on there, flamboyant character, can't remember his name, but he said he has to go to Byram now to go buy food. The Byram Walmart building up. Bowles Grocery building up. Restaurants in Byram getting that Jackson traffic. There's other places to go too, but it's just It's all coming back to your lying eyes and what your eyes are seeing. Are you seeing a growing, expanding economy? Are you seeing a contracting economy? Oh, and the last thing I want to talk about before we go to the break, had a discussion with Mary Jo in the data centers. And I know many people in this listening audience are against data centers, but if you are for data centers, we're looking to talk to you. It would be awesome to have somebody who is pro data center on the show. And you can just reach out to me at my text line 601-879-5060. There's going to be an event with data centers. Some Mississippi state senators are going to be there. I think a state rep or two might be there. And we're going to talk about it because Pearl might be getting a data center. Pearl's looking actually to get it, and the pros and the cons of it. And it's one of those things where data centers, they're coming, ladies and gentlemen. But as quick as they are built and put into play, they're going to be obsolete within 5 years. I know it. Space-based data centers is where it's going to be. Think about this: they're not even going to be able to be attacked on the ground. You get some crazy environmentalist wacko, like the Unabomber, to go after a data center here on the ground. That's not going to be a problem. But data centers up in space, it's going to be a little bit tougher to go after those. And the infrastructure is already there. Blue Zoom staying. There are still 2 Piccadilly locations in Jackson, and one is by the Metro Center Mall, and the other is on I-55 North Frontage Road between Northside Drive and Old Canton Road. I should have said that. I was reciting the article from memory, Blue Sim. But it just goes to show you in that inner city of Jackson where the food is needed, they're losing grocery stores, they're losing restaurants, they're losing Dollar Generals. Man, you know it's bad when the Dollar General go. They've lost a Waffle House that shut down. And Clay Edwards does a much better job of documenting it. Kim does a really good job of documenting it too. I'm just pointing it out because I see the political side of it where we keep on voting for the same thing over and over again, but hoping for a different change. That's the definition of insanity. Whew. Not good, not good. But thanks for the chat, Blue Sim. I appreciate it. You are tuned into the Andrew Gosser Show. You are listening to 103.9 WYAB. We'll be right back. Hey, we're on a break. And we are back. Caller calling in at the last minute there. Hit the wrong button. I think I sent him to ground. Sorry about that. Yep. All sorts of other stuff to talk about. But one thing, I had this whole segment set up. It was supposed to be done on Friday, and I didn't do it. But it was talking about the food deserts and the price of food, not just in America, but in Mississippi, our local communities. And as a farmer, I am keenly aware of how prices uh, that are artificially low actually hurt the farmer. And one of the ways to actually produce good food is through something called aquaponics. Some of you might call it hydroponics. Some of you just think stoners and drug users use it to grow pot. And it's true. It was one of the major ways that you can grow rather effective yield. And I was an aquaponics farmer. I did a lot of it when I was up north in the winter specifically. It'd be 30 degrees outside, and I'd have 150 ghost peppers, 60 to 70 cucumber plants, tomato plants. And I always thought it would be a really great way to go ahead and grow food in food deserts. And aquaponics is one of those ways where you don't need a lot to go ahead and do stuff. You don't need an expensive light kit. You don't need a lot of stuff to go ahead and start farming aquaponically. There is an expense to it. It's much more involved than just a backyard half acre or even a full acre garden. But the theory is absolutely amazing. You have a water source with nitrates in it, and most people have tilapia fish in the water, and they feed the fish, and the fish poop in the water. And then that water is ran through plants, and their root system is dangling in the water. It's absolutely fascinating. I actually took a class on it, a whole course on it, not just a class, but multiple. I think it took me like 3 months to get through. And the plants take the nitrates and nitrites out of the water and grow, and you get fabulous fruits and vegetables. Strawberry plants, like very successful strawberry plant farmer back in the day in dirt. Strawberry plants in aquaponics is like strawberries on crack. They grow, the fruit is big, delicious. And this is one way that we have to start outsourcing and fixing our food shortage, our food deserts in Mississippi. But there's an expense to it. And if we're going to spend $196 million helping out the catfish farmers, what are we going to do to help the people who need to eat? Andy, you starting to sound like a bleeding heart liberal. It's not that I'm a bleeding heart liberal, not in the slightest. I'm just a realist who's out there, selling sheep, selling chickens, and it's difficult out there to feed the people on a price that makes everything affordable. Go ahead, caller. You're on the air.
And I love where you're going with this grow your own food thing. It's awesome. But sometimes crops take, 75 to 85 days to come in. Something you can do that's a lot faster and is really, really healthy and has a lot of benefits is just sprouting. If you just grow like your broccoli sprouts, you can eat those and get all kind of great nutrients from them. And it doesn't take but 4, 5, 6, 7 days.
Yep. I've actually, the YouTube algorithm has put sprout commercials into my advertisements before and after in the middle of videos. And the broccoli sprouts are supposed to be absolutely incredible.
Yeah. I can't remember what the name of the actual chemical that it makes, but it's crazy. And like I said, broccoli sprouts, like we can't even replicate it. It's such a God thing that they gave us that it fights cancer and all kind of things. Sprouting is awesome, but anybody that can grow some food, man, forget what your HOA says. They shouldn't be in your backyard looking around anyway. Planting some tomatoes.
Watch out for those flock cameras. They're out there.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of interesting things about those on the internet. Like over in Europe, how they cut them down all the time, and now that's starting to be a thing here. People go around cutting them down.
Wow.
I just hate that we let it get this far. They should have never been a thing to begin with. They're not even a government agency. They're hired out. So then they can violate your rights, and they don't have to give you a sense of security because it's not a government issue. It's a private party.
You know that is exactly how the special access programs are ran in the Pentagon. Is they're bought out through a corporation, and so you go to Freedom of Information Act, and you can't get the information on them. It's a loophole that has been curiously designed by the deep state, and this deep state after today is alive and well.
But they've been alive and well for a long, long time, and just nobody paid attention to it. I think this court decision is completely wrong. I think it's treasonous.
Oh,
But it's how it's been for 50 years. So, well, I'm upset with it, but I'm not surprised.
you know, Rick, you know me pretty good. I'm usually a pretty positive person, glass half full, uh, not maybe easily to bounce back from, but ability to ability to come back from a bad decision. But dude, this completely ruins the United States of America. There are no borders anymore. They're literally
Well, there hadn't been for a while, but what this does is hopefully this will wake people up, and not only will this court decision not be relevant, hopefully we can repeal the 14th completely. It's not needed anymore. It was written back whenever we had, right after the Civil War, whenever there were slaves, and we were trying to give everybody, well, not women, but the men, the right to vote and things like that. The women came later on. But we just abolish it. Forget the Supreme Court. They're not going to do it for us. We'll just get the votes to abolish it.
I'd say keep the 14th, and I think it's the 17th Amendment that basically makes the senators elected by the people instead of the states, the state houses. I'd like that back. I think there are a lot of amendments that need a looking at. I mean,
well, I get tired of everybody, not everybody, but the left's coming at me and saying the Second Amendment wasn't intended for these rifles. They were intended for those rifles. Well, if you're going to hold me an account for when the Second Amendment was written back in 1776, well, then you got to do the same thing about the rest of them. So anything written after 1776, abolish it.
Yeah, I think that the I can't remember the word that's used for that is, but it was when the law was adopted, when the amendment was adopted. What was the language of the time, and what was the intent behind it? And the Second Amendment, it's clear, and we've had great Second Amendment victories, from this Supreme Court session. It's just, it's really. I think this is the one that mattered the most. I mean, I'm glad that girls aren't going to have to play against boys in sports, and the guys are going to get kicked out of the girls' locker rooms. That's all great and dandy. But
that's common sense.
It is, and you would think
but
that having
common.
You think having borders is common sense too. There's not one other country out there, brother, that has birthright citizenship. You don't do it in France. You don't do it in Egypt. You don't do it in England or Germany. You don't do it in Iran.
That's why I'm so aggravated with the president, and you keep telling me that he's the greatest thing since sliced bread. All he did was close the borders on paper. Next time we get a Democrat in there, or anybody for that matter, it's wide open again with the stroke of a pen. We need a physical border. I'll tell you what, if you don't think borders matter, walk across Iran's border. Walk across the border with Hungary.
I haven't been to Iran, but I've been right next door in Afghanistan, and I can tell you that America would have a complete monumental change in about 1.2 seconds of being in Afghanistan, especially the women. I'd love to see some. It's just a different culture, and we're so comfortable in America, and I don't want to say we're lazy, because there are people like you and I out there operating farms, operating businesses. Shout out to the blue collar crew doing what they do. But there are so many Americans who are quote unquote disabled and can't work, and they sit there and they're grifting and they're grafting, and they don't realize how good we have it here. But it's not because of the disability safety net that's here. It's because of all the people who show up to work every day. Honest jobs too.
Yeah, I know. And you show up to work, It's it feels like 106 out here today, but
Whew.
freaking taxed on it. And then somebody can jump on a plane, be in labor while the plane is landing, have the child here as soon as the wheels touch down, and they get to go on health care benefits. And they actually get better benefits than our veterans.
Yep. And they're going to get
It makes no sense.
Go ahead.
I'm just saying how it doesn't make sense. Like, I don't understand how the laws got put forward in the beginning. Like, I understand it's a problem. I understand we need to fix it. But who in their right mind voted to make this the situation we're in now?
Brother Rick, I think you hit the nail right on the head. Who voted? It's not who voted, it's who didn't vote. Because
Well, not voting is voting.
well, it's not voting, but there are a lot of people who agree with you and agree with me who won't vote because they just think it's a waste of time. And we are coming to see the fruits of that theory of thought. You know, I'll give you the last word, my man.
My thing is, I've never missed a vote ever since I've been able to. I'm just sick and tired of not having somebody worth my vote. I want better candidates, and I'm sick and tired of the two-party system telling me who I got to vote for. I'm ready for a third party, and I know it's a lost cause, and you can do a whole show on that, but I'm just sick of the whole status quo.
Well, next Tuesday when you're on the air, we're going to talk about that because there is a third party that's emerging. You've got the Republicans, you've got the Democrats, and then you got the Democratic Socialists, aka the communists, who are infiltrating the Democrats. And
if y'all aren't paying attention to New York, start paying attention to New York. It's bad.
Didn't even talk about it today, dude, but Colorado has another one of these insurgents, these Democratic Socialists, about to take out a 30-year Democrat, high-ranking Democrat. And they've got this new, she's just like the mayor of Seattle, who's completely incompetent and worthless. She's about to become a congresswoman out of the great state of Colorado. Brother, I got to run. I got to take a commercial break.
Have a good one.
Hey, thanks for the call. I appreciate it. That was Brother Rick. He's going to join us next Tuesday. I think we're going to have him on every other Tuesday just to shoot the breeze and get different ideas out there. But yeah, Colorado's about to have a crazy, crazy election. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We'll be right back. And we are back. Final segment of the Andrew Gosser Show on this June 30th, 2026. Dark day in American history. Dark day. You know, one last thought about the Supreme Court decision today as we take it on home for the day. All of you mothers and fathers out there who have kids getting ready to go into the workforce, getting ready to go to the first day of school, getting ready to go out and do the things that Americans do. We have now allowed people who live in countries that hate us, countries like the Sudan, countries like Iran, Iraq, Saudi Arabia. They're all going to be able to have their kids here. And we'll be dust. I'll be dust by the time that we really start to see this. But these new people are going to be competing with our kids, our children. I look at my daughter, Toots McCracken, and my granddaughter, Caroline, and I wonder what kind of country they're going to be inheriting, what they're going to be working with when they get to have that family. Toots McCracken, 10 years, hopefully I have a kid from her. That'd be awesome. I'll never see Caroline's kids, but that's all right. But what kind of country are we leaving our kids? It's tough. It's really tough, and some people are going to take the line of, this is exactly what we needed. This is what's going to wake us up. Just wait till those Democrats in New York and those Democrats in Colorado are outvoted. They're going to have to vote Republican. Well, necessarily voting Republican does not mean the same thing in all across the United States. Each Republican is different. It's a value system. It's a conservative-based value system based on God, not necessarily the GOP. Although a lot of us who claim to be in the GOP also claim to be going to church on Sunday. But if I say that out loud, I get in trouble. It's all right. Look, it was a show today that will be remembered, but hopefully we can move on from it pretty quick. Until then, take care, everybody. Be blessed. Yes, and amen.